There's also a wider dimension to it, which I ought to mention here, which is lost on a lot of people, but frankly speaking, it's a much more serious dimension than even the other one. And that is this: a situation whereby in a country of 200 million people, multicultural, multi-religious, a multi-ethnic country, and you now have a situation whereby the CJ, that is the leader of one arm of government, is a northern Muslim, as at today, because Onnoghen was a Christian, a southern Christian. He's been removed now. Now you now have a CJ that is a northern Muslim. You have a president, that is the chief executive of the state, leading the other arm of government, is a northern Muslim. You have the president of the National Assembly, that is the president of the Senate, is another northern Muslim. Then you now have a situation whereby the president of the head of the Supreme Court, that is the CJ again, is a northern Muslim. The head of the Court of Appeal is a northern Muslim. The head of the Federal High Court is a northern Muslim. And you go a step further, look into the executive. There are 17 security agencies in this country. That is military, intelligence, paramilitary, investigative agencies. There are a total of 17 of them. Every single one of them, except for the Navy, is headed by a northern Muslim. And this in a situation or in a country where you have diverse ethnicities, diverse religions, and diverse people, diverse cultures. This does not augur well for our unity. It's a violation of everything we stand for. There ought to be a reflection of federal character in everything that we do. It's never happened before in our country. And it gives the impression, or rather it confirms the assertion, that President Buhari is on a course of Fulanisation and Islamization in this country. There's no other explanation for it. And that, for me, is the most serious dimension to this. So it's something that a lot of people talk about behind closed doors, but it's something we need to air, we need to exhaust, and we need to discuss. And that is the cliff edge that he's pushing us towards, because a lot of people are set to resist that, and we will not accept that.
So let's get this clear. There are two things that I picked from what you have said. The first thing is, you are not against Onnoghen, Chief Justice Onnoghen being tried if he's corrupt.
Needless to say,
that due process that conforms with international standard must be followed.
Absolutely. Needless to say, there is a process, like I said earlier. There is a way of doing these things. When it comes to executive, they have their own rules and regulations, how to conduct themselves, and indeed how to conduct themselves when they're investigating people outside government and people within government. When it comes to judiciary, they have their own ways of doing things. And when it comes to the National Assembly, they have their own ways of doing things. In the case of the National Assembly, if you want to indict somebody, a senator or a House of Reps, you first of all write to the Senate President, or you write to the Speaker of the House, and you say, we believe so-and-so has done such a thing, hand him over to us. That's the procedure before they move against that person. It is a procedure. It doesn't mean they have immunity, they don't, but it's a procedure that you follow. Now, that has been violated on numerous occasions by the executive under President Buhari. Now, in the case of the judiciary, the correct procedure is very simple and very clear. Under the, I think it's section 292 of the Constitution, if you want to move against the Chief Judge of the Federation or indeed any other judicial officer, you have to go and get the support of 2/3 of the Senate. You have to tell them, that is you as president, tell them, I want to remove so-and-so for such and such a reason, and I need your support. And they have to now give you 2/3 of the Senate have to support that. And once you have that, you can now remove the CJ and try him or whatever, or investigate him or whatever it is you want to do. That's the first way of doing it. The second way of doing it is to write a formal letter to the NJC, which is the body that by the Constitution is empowered to investigate all the judges and every member of the judiciary. You write to them, send them your findings of your investigation. They look at all these things, and then they are the ones that will now recommend whether or not this person should step down out of office pending the time that he has been investigated and tried. And that's how it's done everywhere else in the world. This is to ensure that the judiciary is protected from the excesses of the executive, and it works everywhere. Well, President Buhari didn't do any of these things. What he did was simply declare that the man's seat was vacant, and then went a step, removed him from office, completely unconstitutional, and then went a step further by illegally swearing in somebody else who had no business taking that position and declaring that person as the CJ of the Federation. And of course, it's completely unacceptable, and it's a breach of all the relevant law. So if he's done anything wrong, nobody's saying, you know, he shouldn't be called to account. He's not above the law, but there is a way of doing this, and that process, due process, has to be followed.
And it shouldn't be a situation where there's first and foremost a media trial before investigation and the actual due process.
Media trials are part and parcel of this administration. It's happened to everybody. What they tend to do is make an allegation, go to the media, blow it up, say all kinds of ridiculous things, absurd things, in order to demean the person, discourage the person, break the person's spirit, and of course make the person persona non grata in the eyes of the Nigerian public. That's what they do all the time, forgetting that the Constitution is clear. You are innocent until you're proven guilty, declared guilty by a court of law. So that is part and parcel of it. I mean, in Onnoghen's case, the minute they froze his bank accounts, the demonization started at that point. Then they removed him, replaced him, and have been demonizing him ever since. And forgetting that even if he's done anything illegal, it doesn't mean that you must also indulge in illegality in order to rectify that. If you are accusing him of doing something illegal, you have no right to also commit another atrocity and act illegally. And this is what we're facing in this country. Onnoghen is just one example. It's across the board. It happens to everybody. They've been doing it to everybody for the last 3.5